Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Tuesday, April 7th, 2015. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5. I am Dan Rubin. It is a rainy, gray day here in the Gem City. We're going to try and keep today's edition as close to 5 minutes as possible, but you know how that usually works out. Going to be joined in a little bit by the Dean of Midwest Recruiting, Bill Kurelic. If there is anybody who can put into historical context what Jim Harbaugh's arrival in Michigan and his recruiting efforts in Ohio thus far, it's Bill Kurelic. He's been there through several Michigan coaches. Before we go any further, I want to get a couple comments in on the national championship game last night. I realize it was Wisconsin versus Duke. There was no Buckeye involvement. I get that everyone's concerned about the refs in the second half for Duke. I saw a couple of those calls as well, no question. I thought Wisconsin had their chance in this game, though. If you watch, Dukes, Okafor, and Winslow combined to miss, I think, 6 layups or 6 shots they usually make. Wisconsin had only 2 fouls in the first half. So the idea of a foul inequity, Wisconsin has gotten the benefit of the doubt all year because they've been told Wisconsin doesn't foul. Still, the difference in the game came when Wisconsin built their lead and they allowed Grayson Allen to go off. Grayson Allen, or as I like to refer to him as, D'Angelo Russell's AAU backup, was really the difference for that stretch of the game. They were not running plays for him. He was getting the ball and putting his head down and going to the basket every time. And Wisconsin either didn't foul in their Wisconsin-y way or did, and he had a 3-point play. So I get that Duke is Duke and people get angst about Duke. They made some big shots. When the announcer says it's Tyus Jones time, and 2 seconds later the guy pulls up from 3 and drains it. Pretty impressive. Regardless, it did show that a group of talented freshmen, if they stick together, can come in and make a major impact. Let's hope the same can be said this time next year when the Buckeyes are looking back at a tremendous freshman class.
The tables have been turned for the Buckeyes when it comes to recruiting the state of Michigan and Michigan recruiting the state of Ohio. It used to be that Michigan was a big player in Ohio and relied on landing some top prospects from the Buckeye State every year, while the Buckeyes really weren't much of a factor overall year in and year out recruiting the state up north. But since Urban Meyer has gotten to Ohio State, that has all changed, and now it is the Buckeyes recruiting the state of Michigan very well, while Jim Harbaugh certainly has not been a factor in the short time he has been at Michigan in the state of Ohio. Last year, of course, the Buckeyes went up to Michigan and signed running back Michael Weber, who Jim Harbaugh tried frantically to change his commitment at the end to Michigan, but to no avail. Weber, of course, signed with Ohio State. The Buckeyes also landed fellow Detroit Cast Tech star Joshua Alabi, and the year before that, the Buckeyes went up to Michigan and landed Damon Webb, the outstanding defensive back from Detroit Cast Tech. This year, the Buckeyes again are making waves up north, and the 3 top prospects in the state of Michigan are all very highly considering Ohio State. In fact, they are considering Ohio State in most cases as much or more than Michigan. Michael Jordan, the fine offensive lineman from Michigan, has Ohio State as definitely one of his top choices and plans to be back in Columbus again for the Buckeyes spring game. And certainly the Buckeyes have a very realistic shot at Michael Jordan. Michigan's a factor there as well, but certainly Urban Meyer as well as Kerry Combs and Ed Warner are making a strong push to land Michael Jordan. Also offensive lineman Theo Lacusa from Traverse City West High School of Michigan. He's a guy that I have been saying for quite some time I think could easily end up or will likely end up at either Ohio State or Michigan. And 247 Sports Director Steve Wiltfong just crystal ball Theo Lacusa to Ohio State. He is another guy that certainly I could see end up at Ohio State, and he is not really considering Michigan. And interesting, the Wolverines have not offered him a scholarship. Wide receiver Donnie Corley from Detroit King High School is one of the country's top wide receiver prospects, and on one of his visits to Ohio State, he admitted to being very close to committing to Ohio State. He did not, and he still is considering other schools highly, including Michigan, but Ohio State is definitely right there in the running for Donnie Corley. Now you go to the flip side of that, and really Michigan is not a factor for any of the top prospects in Ohio for the class of 2016 that the Buckeyes are going after. And certainly this is all a big turn of the tables when it comes to Michigan recruiting in Ohio and Ohio State recruiting in the state of Michigan. And certainly it all bodes very well as the Buckeyes continue to stack up great recruiting class upon great recruiting class.
We thank the Dean for joining us and shedding light on the Harbaugh recruiting allergy. Keep it locked into Bucknuts all day, Bucknutters. Urban Meyer will be meeting with the media at 11 a.m. We'll be here with a complete report. Got a great boarding house coming for you today, including an NFL scout who's scouting current Buckeyes and found one on the team right now that he has a love affair with. Have a great one, Bucknutters.